some information on the other names that were up as finalists.
All right.
OKC Bison FC.
Okay.
OKC Lightning FC. I don't know. We got to talk FC on all these. OKC Thunderbird would have been amazing. That would have been an amazing one. OKC Wind. Wind is a little wishy-washy, but Thunderbird, I'm digging Thunderbird.
Next segment here on Morning Kickaround is brought to you by 44 Boots. And big thanks to 44 Boots. And 44 Boots is an international collective of football writers creating the first season-by-season history of Europe's major leagues and tournaments. Big thanks to Craig Kerr and his collaborators. They have made these books chronicling year by year the seasons in Europe, and they want to let you guys know that you can catch up on stories, league information, tournament, national teams, and summaries of even smaller leagues via these editions. It is a collective of writers where they focus on stories around the game, not just the results. For example, there's a chapter about the England captain and arrested and accused of stealing a diamond bracelet in Colombia during the 1970 World Cup. There was another story in one of these editions of two Dutch teams with stuffed seagulls in their museums and continue to argue whose seagull was the one murdered during a match. You can find these 44 Boots editions via Amazon. You can get a physical or an ebook. You can Google 44 Boots, sends you to the section. So the full title matters. Type out 44 Boots. You can see it right here on the book. Great stuff here. And if for Kindle users, you can get a subscription with a purchase included free with part of the purchase. Thank you to 44 Boots for sponsoring today's segment. All right. One of the keystone pieces of content for this show is the branding of new American soccer teams. And we got one that's been waiting for quite some time. We featured this team, Oklahoma City. They had a team that's come and gone over the years, and there's been a big push to get a stadium and a new brand, and it was revealed this week. Jason, what did that look like?
Okay, so we, as you said, we have talked about this team and waiting for some time now. OKC Energy was the team in the USL that shuttered because of a lack of a stadium plan. Enter new investment. Korjeski, who formerly was an executive with USL. Russell Westbrook is an owner. I believe Josie Altidore is now part of the ownership group, and they've been calling themselves OKC for Soccer. And they were working on getting a stadium plan together. And sure enough, they managed to pull together a pretty impressive stadium plan. And again, we have highlighted some of the OKC stadium plan details on this show as they get closer and closer to sort of rebooting the idea of what soccer can be in a USL city, right? They're not aiming at MLS. This is one of those situations where it's like, oh, this is an MLS plan with USL clothing. No, they want to be a premier team in the USL. And we've been waiting for them to deliver their brand. And just a point of reference, this is OKC Energy's badge. Again, this is the club that no longer exists in Oklahoma City. And you can see this very cool shirt they sent me a while back. This is the new badge. Rob, let's take a look at it. There it is. OKC United is the name of this new club. There are a couple of things here. First impressions, before we go into detail, badge explainer, color scheme, all of that stuff. What do you make of this badge?
What do I make of the badge? So we're starting a badge, not team name, right? We're just starting purely on the badge.
We'll do team name. But the team name is generic. Right? We both agreed on that. There's no issue. There's no arguing that this is a generic team name. And we can come back to the issue of team name. But since the badge itself is unique in the sense that nobody else's badge looks exactly like this, what do you make of the badge?
When I first saw it, I was like, oh, I've never seen anything quite of that color scheme before. So that didn't bother me too much. I kind of like that there wasn't really anything of that color scheme. The shape of the badge, not too crazy, pretty standard shield badge logo. I like the colors. I don't quite. It took me a minute to decipher the lettering, the text in the middle of the badge. I saw on the MK Discord some people had some interpretations of what those letters were spelling out, and I'll let you guys read into what that comment might have been referring to. But I like that it doesn't look like anything else in American soccer color wise.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think it's fine. I like the badge more than I like the name, I guess is an
Okay.
easy way to wrap up my thoughts on it.
The name is a cop out, and we'll come to some details here. So the badge itself, look, the color scheme is interesting. It's not immediately appealing to me, but I'm willing to sort of let them have this idea of a unique color scheme, because how do you find a unique color scheme in this game that we play? The interlocking letters. Look, if you have sort of an iconic 3-letter abbreviation or whatever we call that, initialism for your city like OKC, you have to include it. You do. Interlocking letters have been done quite a bit. This isn't my favorite version of that. It doesn't immediately tell my brain that that's OKC. My brain is trying to, as you said, figure out exactly what's happening there. The K almost looks more prominent to me than the O does, which creates this reverse thing where I'm like, KCRO. Is that even a letter? Is the O even a letter? Or is it just a framing element? I think is part of this. Now, here's the explainer. So let's dive in and see how they explain it. The shield. The shield takes the form of an arrowhead, an intentional nod to Oklahoma's Native American heritage. Look, I've always said clubs need to do better about tapping into the history of where they are, their home city, state, region for these things. So if that's an obvious thing most people know about Oklahoma. Obviously, Oklahoma has a lot of Native American history for both good and bad reasons. So tapping into it makes sense. I really have no issue with that. Look, it's not so unique a shape that it isn't kind of just a badge or a crest, right? It's just the shield is just a shield. But if you're going to tie it into, okay, it's sort of an arrowhead, fine. I mean, I guess, Rob, does that scream arrowhead to you?
That's not what I immediately thought of. No.
Okay. The pattern.
I thought of a shield. I thought of a shield.
The zigzag, right? It just looks like a soccer shield. Like it just looks like a soccer club shield. But if you're saying it ties into arrowhead, okay, fine. I'll let you have that. The zigzag pattern that borders the shield draws from Jim Thorpe's Sack and Fox name, Watho Hook, meaning bright path, and reflects a view of life's journey not as a straight line, but as seasons of growth, change, adversity, and success. Wow. I mean, I've read a lot about Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe is an immense figure in Native American history in this country, obviously sports history in this country. Tying into Jim Thorpe, sure, I guess. I mean, he was born in Oklahoma, right? He is Native American. You're using that motif, I suppose. Right? I don't know if that's like a symbolism of the bright path, then I guess I have to trust them on that.
I guess so. It seems like really, really a reach, in my opinion. But I mean, I guess it's nice to add meaning to things in shapes. But okay, all I got to say is okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let it be. Let it be.
The monogram at its center, an interlocking OKC monogram sits inside a ring of 39 sun rays representing each of the 39 federally recognized tribes headquartered in Oklahoma. Again, very heavy on this idea that this is tied to the Native American heritage of the state of Oklahoma. Those 39 federally recognized tribes headquartered in Oklahoma, not all of them are from Oklahoma originally. I don't know how you are you making a you're doing a head nod. What was that? Was that Rob?
Well, they're not from Oklahoma. Where are they from?
Oh, well, okay. We're not going to do Trail of Tears history on Morning Kickaround.
Fair enough. All right. That's the explanation I wanted. Okay.
I mean, the ribbon, a ribbon carrying the club name anchors the crest below. That's pretty standard. I think that's, everybody wants to put the ribbon in just to make sure everybody knows what this is. And therefore it says the name. Man.
Go back for just a second before we move on. The one thought that I had, the one thing that keeps coming to mind, I see a couple comments about people getting kind of mesmerized and lost into the lettering in the middle. I keep on thinking of, do you remember when we were kids, like spiral graph art?
Yeah.
That's kind of spiral graphs keep coming to mind.
The sun ray element, the 39 sun rays kind of does look a little bit like that. All right, let's move on. The color scheme. The club's color palette is inspired by the Oklahoma sky. Midnight blue, pink sunset, and ivory cloud lead the identity, with twilight blue and hazy blue in support. Together, they capture the beauty, tenacity. Can you capture tenacity with colors? Joy and wonder of Oklahoma's defining natural landscape, from the raw power of a spring thunderstorm to majestic awe of an autumn sunset. By the way, this is a Matt Wolf design, if you were wondering. Although the story is that Russell Westbrook was part of the creative input that led to this. So here is from OKC United's website. Matthew Wolf, one of the world's foremost sports designers. And what has Matthew Wolf done off the top of your head? He did the new Chicago Fire. He did LAFC. I think he did Tulsa.
County FC.
He did Tulsa as well. He did Oakland County FC. That's right. Rob's home club.
LAFC.
It mentions his resume. My goal is always to create an identity that's long-lasting and properly reflects the community. The OKC for Soccer project is unique, and I'm looking forward to helping club. This is before, obviously, the design was out. And here's Russell Westbrook. A crest is more than a logo. It's a mirror, he says. It has to reflect the city, the people, and the club all at once, and it has to earn its place on a uniform. Oklahomans are proud and resilient. They don't need to be told what they are a part of. They feel it. That's what this crest is built on. Every element ties back to Oklahoma's past, present, and future. When you see it, you know it's OKC. I try to have as much grace about these things as possible. Like, try to give as much leeway as I can, because it's hard. Like, this is hard, Rob. This is not an easy thing to thread a needle of, like, making people happy. And that speaks to the name, too. I hate that they went with OKC United. I hate it.
So all the explainers and stuff, we kind of read it. We have fun because they're putting so much like rooted stuff, trying to layer all the meanings and to make it not seem just like this is a cool badge. We liked it, so we made it. But what made me really roll my eyes was that they took in thousands of naming suggestions and everybody had their say. There was all this thought and suggestions put into it. And this is literally the most generic name that you could have chosen. And you said it when we're warming up, like, hey, if you're starting from scratch, like, why don't you just like be yourself and be a thing standing in your own, and then maybe let fan and supporter influence, like shape the culture as you move forward. But to start is odd. But then if you had all these suggestions, I'm sure there was something a little bit more creative amongst those thousands of entries, a little bit more interesting or unique than OKC United.
Yeah, and look, I think this is my read on the thinking when a club decides to go with United, right? And we got some news about a different United in the same league coming up here in a couple of minutes, and there are Uniteds all over American soccer, right? In MLS, DC United, the original, but Atlanta United, and whom else? I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of them. Who else am I missing that's a United?
A United officer? Should we start at the top of the heap? Should we go MLS? How many Uniteds in MLS? We got Minnesota.
I forgot about that. That's what I was trying to get to. Minnesota United, Atlanta United, DC United.
3.
What else? Am I missing any other Uniteds in MLS? Or is that there are just 3 of them in Major League Soccer? I think that might be the whole thing. You can't say Union. That's a different, which I respect that they went with Union rather than United. Same idea, different word. Get a thesaurus, right?
Yeah.
Now, and Jack is saying
that
Jack is saying that United makes sense in Minnesota. I guess what? Because they were the Thunder and the Stars, and they have this history in Minnesota, and therefore Twin Cities, unite the Twin Cities. Okay, guys. But let's recognize what they're doing. They're leaning on a trope in soccer, like an old idea in soccer, as a cop-out. Like it's simply we don't want to risk alienating anybody by being unique with our name. So what are we going to do? And by the way, the real cop-out is FC. Like Oklahoma City FC would have been an extra level of cop-out. At least United is something, right? But again, this thing bothers me because you're saying we don't think soccer fans will accept an actual unique name, and so we have to be like everybody else. And I mean, I don't know, like, I it's like everybody's scared right now, right? Everybody's scared of being different. Like, and then like you could say, oh well, our badge is different, or we're different in this way and that way, but not necessarily in our name. But man, I wish American soccer would lean into the idea of being American a little bit more than it does. Because this is like, if you're going to say, well, we have to do something that's got some soccer history to it. Why is it United? Why is it always looking towards the English example rather than examples in other parts of world football? I mean, why is it this one? I don't know.
And I'm not sure if you have it in the slideshow, but they actually do. I think they do actually have OKC United kits in there somewhere. But when we're going through the explainer, I was curious as to what the pink was a connection to, and it said believe the sunset. And when I think of Oklahoma, I'm totally outsider, never been there. And pink in Oklahoma wouldn't have smacked me as going hand in hand. Obviously, pink has become a popular color due to Inter Miami. I don't know if that had any effect because, there's pink kits all over the country and maybe, trying to follow suit there. I'm curious if there's any Oklahomans in here that says, oh yeah, that's a color that's widely used in, some sort of a staple.
No, I think they're trying to
across the
claim it.
state.
I think they're trying to claim it. And, there are different pinks out there. Miami's is a pretty vibrant one. Like, it fits the city of Miami.
This one's almost a peach.
This one is more like a Palermo pink, I think, which, Palermo was the pink club before Inter Miami showed up. So, I give them credit for that. Like, it's somewhat unique to choose that color. Like, I think they didn't go, blue or red. Or I don't know, green, which seems to be extremely popular right now. All these teams going green.
A lot of green.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It look, I'm not trying to hate on the effort that they're putting in. Obviously, the stadium, if they get it built, that'll be an incredible achievement in American soccer. Hopefully, the people of Oklahoma connect with this. I'm not from Oklahoma, so I can't speak to that part of it. I just, as somebody who has watched so many clubs be born in American soccer, it's like, yeah, we're just going to punt on the name. And they always cover themselves by saying, well, we'll let the supporters figure out what our identity is, right? Like, we'll be called the whatever, the Herons in Miami. I guess they actually chose that one rather than it being delivered by the fans. But that idea of like, oh, the fans will figure it out. Okay, sure. Let's see if they do. Let's see if they come up with something good.
So the kit shown in the press release is actually that dark color. So it doesn't look like their primary shirt will be using a ton of that pink. It's that dark blue that was in the color palette shown on the screen a moment ago. And you also said something that kind of raised my eyebrow about they already have a name of a supporters group. You mentioned there. And that doesn't necessarily, if they're naming it already and the team's not on the field.
Yeah, I think I can't remember what it was. I don't have it in front of me. It may be, that's okay. It was like a year. It was like 1906 founders or something like that. And I'm sure that it has something to do with the history of Oklahoma, right? Something happened in a particular year, and that year is what they're talking. I don't want to say it without knowing if it's like the year Oklahoma became a state or something like that. I don't know. It's probably 1907 is the year that Oklahoma became a state. I think it's probably that 1907. Telsomara is saying in 1910. We'll have to double check on this information because we seem to have crossed our wires on that. But yeah, that's that's just the founders program, right? Like, that's the early adopters, supporters mechanism. We're like going to get you to pay us some extra money, and then you can call yourself a founder of the club. That hopefully there will be independent supporters groups that pop up around the club and I have a relationship with the team, but are actually independent. Let's hope for that, Rob.
Yeah, and keep your comments going. What do you think of this latest American rebrand here in the Discord, the Morning Kickaround Discord? If you're a member,
I have
they definitely weighed in there.
further clarification from our guy Tosamario, who would know being in Oklahoma. He's saying it's 1910, and it is. I checked. It's the 1910 Founders Club. And he's saying that's the year that Oklahoma City stole the capital from Guthrie, Oklahoma, which I don't know that history, but that sounds great. Okay, this is we have some information on the other names that were up as finalists.
All right.
OKC Bison FC.
Okay.
OKC Lightning FC. I don't know. We got to talk FC on all these. OKC Thunderbird would have been amazing. That would have been an amazing one. OKC Wind. Wind is a little wishy-washy, but Thunderbird, I'm digging Thunderbird. If you don't know the Native American history of the Thunderbird, go look it up. It's very cool. The Air Force's acrobatic squadron of fighter jets is called the Thunderbirds. I idolized those guys when I was a kid because we would go out to air shows every summer when my dad was in the Air Force and watch the Thunderbirds fly. It's a very cool hit. That would have been great. I would have been on board for that.
Yeah, I've seen the Thunderbirds on multiple occasions, but the Wind, man, there's so many memes that could come from the Wind. It's like, what's their warm-up meal? It's probably some beans or something, right? Or they could get, swept away in the wind. Bison, that would have led to some pretty interesting badge designs. I mean, there's probably a lot you could do with bison imagery there, but the latest addition into American soccer club branding, here we are, and keep the conversation going. And remind you guys that today's segment brought to you by 44 Boots, Writer Collective, documenting season by season European club football. Those guys have, each book is dedicated to a year of European soccer, and each chapter is a separate story of a league, tournament, or a specific moment in European football. You can find these books, both the physical and ebook, on Amazon by searching 44 Boots, The Complete History of European Football. I want to clarify that from the top. You have to search for that whole name, 44 Boots, The Complete History.
I would recommend when you search putting 44 and Boots all together as one word. That's the way that you should search this if you want to check out these books and maybe check in on the history. There are lots of books that cover sort of a broad spectrum of history and maybe dip into various seasons. But what's great about 44 Boots is it does tell you the story in a book of one season. Like, there's depth there you're not going to get anywhere else. But like I said, check out put in 44 Boots, all one word.
Yeah, and this is a writer collective doing it as a collective thing. But I was impressed. The bibliography is about 10% of the back of these books. So they're digging into their sources. This isn't guys pontificating. These guys are digging into the history and getting all the stories. And when you zoom into something, you really get more details. Just even in this World Cup, like the stories from the first week seem like distant history. So these guys documenting year by year of European football.